We've spent a lot of time working on rules for lobbyists. Why don't we just get rid of them and allow our politicians to listen to the voters? Why should my politician have the ear of a lobbyist?
Well, I think you couldn't be more right that we should be mostly listening to the people. That's what we want to be doing. But the fact is, lobbyists have a right. Everybody has a right of free speech, and if somebody wants to come and hang around the building and talk to people, they have a right to do that, and everybody has the right to do that. So, and it's not necessarily a dishonorable thing for them to want to do that. They could be there for all the best reasons in the world. So there's nothing necessarily evil about who lobbyists are or what they're trying to. You have to look at it on a case-by-case basis. There are people who lobby for the poor every day. And I've got a nun in my district who comes down to the State House and lobbies me all the time about homeless care and emergency assistance, and she's a lobbyist. So there's lobbyists and lobbyists and lobbyists, and you know, many of the times, and oftentimes, and this is, most lobbyists really think of themselves as honest people, because they know that the day they're known as not honest, nobody's ever going to listen to them again. So that you got some pretty straight shooters in the lobbying community, and so it's a complicated, it's not an all one-way kind of issue.
That's an interesting comment.
Tony?
Go ahead. You guys have news?
Well, yes.
Go ahead.
Before we forget that, or I was going to just come in the lobby.
Comment on that first.
Okay. I think one of the arguments for not permitting lobbyists to contribute is that it has to do with sort of the incumbent versus the non-incumbent. The lobbyist, some lobbyists, they're going to feel basically whoever is on that committee or in that position, I've got to pay. It used to be $500. Well, it used to be $1,000. Then it was $500. Now it's $200. I've got to do it, whether I actually support that person or not. I've got to basically do it. They may, is it going to affect the senator's decision? No, I don't think it is. But that's sort of one of the arguments, that basically, it means that the incumbent is going to get sort of an automatic, there are going to be 10 lobbyists or 20 lobbyists or 30 lobbyists or whatever it might be who will be just contributing to whoever that incumbent is. So that's sort of the concern that has been raised, and why some have felt, in part, that lobbyists should not be making any contributions at all, because they're going to make it to the incumbent. They're not going to make it to the challenger. Now, that's not necessarily true. Sometimes the lobbyists just make it to everybody, but that's part of it. And the other is just the perception. Even though, knowing these two individuals are not going to be affected by a lobbyist or a PAC contribution, whether they take them in or not, the public doesn't know the individual necessarily. They just see, senators or representatives, oh, they're taking lobbyist money, they're taking PAC money, so therefore they're in their pocket. So there's that perception issue, and that's another reason why some people feel that the lobbyist contribution should be banned.
Well, unlike the nun who was talking for herself, my going and saying I have a little problem.
She's saying here is the 5,000 can still go to the campaign.
Yes, you just can't have a fundraiser.
I'm dealing for myself.
And what's the success fees? This is on the contract she was asking.
Oh, well, no, I get that difference, but I'm just saying it's not a simple issue. I mean, and if there are constitutional limits on our ability to ban, lobbyist activities. I mean, it is a free speech thing at the end of the day. And if I'm a business person and I'm dependent on regulation, I have a right to come down and make myself be heard, and I have a right to get some help to, somebody who knows how to talk. I mean, and people do that. So I don't want to paint all lobbyists into a corner as bad people. I can't do that.
Well, and the other thing to keep in mind is when you call your state rep or your state senator and say, I really think this is a great ethics bill, or I think this is a terrible ethics bill, or let's get rid of the lobbying bill, you're lobbying. You're a lobbyist. You're not technically a lobbyist because no one has paid you to do it. And that's the difference. The lobbyist is somebody that is a registered lobbyist, the people they're referring to. They're really somebody who's being paid to lobby. I mean, every time we call our senator or representative, we're lobbying. We're not lobbyists because we're not being paid to do it. That's the difference.